Welcome to the BrushForger ParallaxPainter video guide. The ParallaxPainter is a Unity asset based on the BrushForger core and BrushForger Prefab Painter. The ParallaxPainter lets you quickly draw or erase parallax layers anywhere in a scene. This means you can paint or erase on several layers at once. For this you can make custom presets which define what will be instantiated on each parallax layer. To adjust the layer offsets and rotations, you get predefined tools with hotkey support. You can also script and extend the functions of the parallax brush or write your own tools. First, make sure you have the BrushForger base and BrushForger Prefab Painter imported into your project. Then import the ParallaxPainter. Now you can open the Parallax Group Creator to set up a group of parallax layers and instantiate them into your scene. Select the new group as a parent in the BrushForger and select the parallax brush. You should now be able to draw a parallax effect into this scene. To preview the result, you can use hotkeys. After drawing, you should be able to see the same result in a 2D game. To create a new preset, we open the Parallax Group Creator. The Parallax Group Creator will instantiate a parallax group, consisting of a parent and its parallax layers. Let's set up a parent as a parent for our new parallax group. We can now set up our preset. We can also change every setting later when the layers are constructed. Most settings explain themselves and have an additional tooltip, so let's keep it brief. We normally want to think about what the layers should look like and set up the brushes accordingly. Let's try to make a natural looking environment. We want to draw sprites, so let's select a sprite preset type. This preset has specific settings for sprite prefab brushes. We set up rock and vegetation brushes and create a new preset named Natural Background. Let's now play a bit with the settings. The most important ones are the amount of layers and speed. Let's change the amount of layers to 7 and set the speed so that the last layer moves a bit faster. The speed is essential for the parallax effect and will be mapped to each layer. To mimic real life, most settings are in a curve, where things further away are closer together. Good, we are now ready to draw. Once we select a parallax group as a parent in the BrushForger, we can see that the preset is in the parallax brush. This preset is saved in the BrushForger data, but you can find its name in the reference component and move the preset anywhere in your project. We can change the values of the preset with the parallax brush. But first, let's draw the parallax effect. That was quite easy. We can preview it with the camera reference points hotkeys. Look at what happens if we change the parallax speed. Since every layer is moving relative to the distance the camera moved, we have to be aware that layers won't look the same if we change the parallax speed. So let's play a bit with the speed value so we have a good start. To erase, we use the eraser. It erases on all parallax layers. If you only want to erase on certain layers, you can set the brush to none and the eraser won't erase on these layers. Let's add the rotation and offset tool, which are not default tools. The offset tool will let you adjust how far every prefab is away. That will of course override the offset value. With the rotation tool you can adjust your layers so that they rotate around the mouse. At default, the offset and rotation tool are combined into one tool. By the way, you can read the distance and angle from the origin to your mouse in the scene view. But take a look at what happens if we draw with a higher offset. Things are now floating in the air. But thankfully we have several options against this. You can take objects which are a bit longer so that their bottom is still on the ground. You can decrease the scale. You can lower the speed so that the layers don't move as much. There's also a Y modifier on layers that might help on flat surfaces when the player is jumping. And you can also preview all areas of interest in extreme positions and adjust floating objects by moving them, deleting them, or painting in more objects. Overall, it still requires some work for a good scene, but it is way faster than painting and adjusting on each layer, so that you can keep your head at things that matter. Also be strict with not drawing too many objects. Since you are drawing on several layers, you can easily add up thousands of objects. In the BrushForger sample test, this was not an issue, but a huge number of objects will eventually hit performance. If you have a custom brush, it will still work with the default brush, but you might want to extend the preset if you want to further change things on materials, custom components, or do something else. First, make a new script and extend the default Parallax Group preset. Let's look at the sample preset that you can also find in the samples folder. First, we extend the Parallax Group preset class and add a Create Asset menu option so that we can create the asset with a right click. We start by defining a new tool size, which we want to change with each layer. We store it in a struct. We then initiate the struct in the default constructor with some default values. To make sure that these settings do something, we override copy settings to pass the values into new presets, and we override setup scene tool. The method setup scene tool is called for every created tool that is used with the Parallax brush. Let's change the tool size for each layer. When we try out the preset, we can now see that the new tool size settings are shown and applied. In the samples, you will furthermore see an inspector for the sample brush that helps in the UI. For example, there is a check curves legit function that checks if the animation curves are valid. For any further questions regarding the ParallaxPainter, you can leave a comment or write to the email address linked to the CodeRedCat Unity account. Have fun with the asset and happy crafting!